Hey everybody, it's Josh. I've got my two little beams of light coming. Let's see, right there. But I hope it doesn't bother you too much. Let's see here if I can do anything to correct that. I guess not. You'll have to see the beams of light on me. I'm sorry. It's better than looking at my face plainly. I wanted to do a video tonight. Um, I did a video today that I haven't released yet, but kind of a response to some of the atheist replies that I've gotten. Most have been absolutely great, cordial. Some are getting angry. Uh, Definitely, it kind of leans to proving the point that atheism is a faith. Atheism is more of like a religion. When people get angry when you call atheism a religion, if anything, if it's not a religion, if it's no big deal, if you don't believe in God, then you're indifferent to it all. Like, yeah, okay. They're calling atheism a religion. All right. And I'm not talking about just the everyday atheist who just didn't think about it. I'm talking about the supposed New Age atheists. These New Age atheists are an organized community with a shared worldview, even though it may differ, just like Christianity, just like Islam, just like everything. You know, different sects, different denominations, I guess you could say. They differ, but they share one common faith. Their faith is in no faith, in nothing. And that's not a knock on them. I'm just saying that's what it is. And I understand that's been used as a pejorative against atheists for a long time, but that's not my intent. My intent is to say that we all worship something. And that made one atheist in my responses very, very mad. Very mad. We do not worship anything. What gets you going in life? And if I actually had somebody in here, it's showing 0 people, so I don't know if anybody is in here, but I want to know what people live for. What gets you out of the bed? What gets you out of bed in the morning? What motivates you to live your life to the fullest? What gives you that fulfillment in life? Because I know I had a much different answer before I was saved. And I like to hear atheists. What motivates them? I know some are saying, we got to do the best we can while we are here. And for what reason? There's no God, there's no higher purpose, there's no higher meaning. What reason do you have to do your best while you're here? So your kids can have a better life? Well, okay, but again, what if you don't have any kids? What if you're a childless atheist? Then what is your reason for living? And if your reason is for making a legacy or making a better place for your kids, then that is your worship. You worship that. That is your main goal in life. Not worship like, I know it's not the same as how we worship Jesus Christ or how Muslims worship Allah or, go through all the religions. But it is a type of worship because that gives you meaning in life. Oh, hello, Nathan. How you doing? First one here. City by the Bay. Good to see you, brother. I'm enjoying the live streams. Nice to talk to like-minded people who are Team Jesus. Yes, I know how hard it is. I don't know how long you've been a believer, City by the Bay, or if you're just a brand new seeker still. I know you've told me a little bit about yourself, but it is very difficult when you first transition, when you first make that move to surrender your life to God, because you are a new person. When you were born again, and I understand that sometimes when you're still seeking, you haven't had that born again moment. But when you're trying to start the process of surrendering your life in devotion to God, being a servant of Christ, then you start losing old friends who might have seen you as just, get together and talk about. Uh, the first thing came to my mind was the Step Brothers quote, and I can't even say that on here. Riverboat gambling, and you know what? Have you ever seen Step Brothers? But I mean, that's how me and my friends were. We'd get together, we'd get wasted, drunk, or high, or whatever. We'd gamble, we'd talk about women, we'd do whatever. Just what guys do. And sometimes we get into deeper philosophical conversations, usually when we were stoned. But it really is completely different. But that's just part of getting older too. You don't have the same motivations in life. I didn't have really any motivation in life except for just to have a good time before. I always believed in God, but my relationship with Jesus changed a few weeks ago. That is amazing. Right around the time I met you, actually. Oh, that is great. That is great. I am so glad to hear it. Uh, Anything in particular? Is just you've had that calling and you kind of are getting that revelation. Sometimes it's kind of a slow revelation. It just kind of, it's like the curtain going up really slowly, and you're like, I can see feet there, but I can't really make out what it is. And then all of a sudden, when it's about halfway up, you're starting to realize, hey, I think this is Jesus Christ behind this curtain. He's been there the whole time. And he's a beckoning figure, and you just don't understand it. Um, I decided to go all in with my faith, instead of being lukewarm on my life. Yeah, you have that quest for truth, right? You know there is something more. And I think most people have that in them. Sadly, most suppress it. But we have that drive to understand God. And if we weren't made by an intelligent designer, then why would we have that drive? It's no evolutionary benefit to it. There's nothing at all. We have that drive because God created us. I know that atheists argue about creation and everything, but there is absolutely no way that we can even comprehend that information carrying genomes of DNA can be formed, can be created. Yes, they can mutate and they can change and they can build off the mutations, but they do not ever carry more information. More information is just not created. It's such a complex process, and no one's been able to come close to it. We can manipulate it, we can change evolutionary changes, but there is no explanation of the creation of DNA. There is none. And I had an angry atheist telling me, "You're wrong. DNA's mutates and changes." Of course it does. I'm not disputing that. Let me try to see if I can get this light a little bit off me here. I'll do this for a while till it's uncomfortable. But yeah, of course it mutates and of course it changes, but it cannot be created. Intelligent proteins and amino acids bonding together to create information carrying genomes cannot happen. The mutation would break down almost immediately. Almost immediately. The numbers of one mutation happening, astronomical. But then two mutations? No, it would break down. It would break down. Um, City, by the way, it's simple. Team evil or team Jesus? Pick a side. Yes, it really is. It really is. And that's why I think, I like to talk about apologetics every now and then. It's not my main goal, because my main goal is to lead people to Christ, to help people have a stronger relationship if they already are a Christian. But It's very important that we understand how to defend our faith. And now, when you're a beginner seeker, it's it's still important, but it's not as important because you are still just collecting facts. But then you can be swayed by a lot of atheist arguments because you're not, you hear them and you're like, oh yeah, I guess they must have a point, but you don't hear the counter. You have to hear the counter arguments to them. And there is no counter argument to the creation of DNA. They have nothing. In fact, somebody asked Richard Dawkins about the creation of information carrying genomes, and he got so upset he left the interview. And he's like, must be a creationist, that only a creationist would ask this, and it made him so mad. And even if you are an atheist thinking the world all this came from nothing, all it came from nothing, which makes no sense at all. How is something come from nothing unless there is something outside of space and time to create it? Well, that's something from nothing, and then it has the Big Bang, which, okay, so you've got two miracles already. You've got the creation of this matter, the condensed matter, and all this all the energy in the universe, because energy, remember, it cannot be created or destroyed. It only changed. So all the energy in the universe together, how is that not a miracle? How is that not a miracle? It just came from nothing. Oh, well, it just popped up into space from an unintelligent place. It just appeared. It makes absolutely no sense. And almost all scientists agree that the Earth or the universe has a beginning. The beginning being around the time of the Big Bang. That was why Albert Einstein went from being I think he was some sort of, basically agnostic, but he became a theist. He started to believe in God. Now, boring girl, sir, why do you choose Lions on the Path? What does it mean? Lions on the Path is actually, it's the line of Judah is another term for Christ, and it had other meanings for me. It actually, crazily, it came from I don't know if you guys ever hear songs and you think the lyrics are different. You think it's different than what you heard. So I had this song, and it was Pink Floyd's "Us and Them," and I always used to think it was saying, "And the lions on the path move from side to side." And the reason I thought this is because I used to study like synchronization and stuff when I was way back in college. This is way 20 some years ago. And I used to sync the dark side of the moon up to the Wizard of Oz, and I actually wrote a paper in college on it. And I got all of the, I was looking for all the little synchronizations throughout the whole thing, and then there's one part where the lion, the cowardly lion's dancing side to side on the path, but it actually says the lines on the map move from side to side, but it really just, everything else was syncing up, and that was the only thing I got wrong. But I just, that for some reason that kept sticking with me, and then I learned about Jesus being the Lion of Judah, and all of these things just came together, and I really didn't know what to call it because I didn't ever think I would do a YouTube channel. So it's not as interesting, I guess, as as everybody hoped, but that's why I call myself Lions on the Path. I should take a 101 biology class and a 101 physics class. Very good, very good. I guess Richard Dawkins should too then, if that's what they teach, how information carrying genomes are formed, are created. I'm not talking about evolution. I'm not talking about them evolving. I'm talking about how are they created. There is no explanation. You're saying that non-intelligent matter and energy created the chemical process to start this, and then the biological process to go along with it, and it created intelligent information-bearing DNA. Even the simplest DNA is so complex it holds thousands of copies of the Encyclopedia Britannica within it. It is absolutely crazy. And by the way, I have taken a 101 biology and 101 physics, but explain what you mean. ABC 123. All right. Thank you, West Wego City. Okay, Goon. Okay, see. Okay, this is yeah. Oh, let's see. Brad Fidel, you misquote. Who created God? Argument from completely. That what did I misquote? I literally just watched the interview again where he was sitting down and he got mad and he stormed off. And then he was asked the same thing again and he could not answer the question again 10 years later, I believe it was. And so I literally just watched those videos a couple days ago and I just finished watching it again to remind me of it so I could get exactly what he said. Here's the question he was asked. Mr. Dawkins, can you give one example of a genetic mutation or evolutionary process that can be seen to increase the information in the genome? How dare you? You must be a creationist. I'm out of here. That is the response, not, no, I can't. No, I have no idea, because he doesn't. It is always, with a lot of these New Age atheists, it is, they get angry. Why are you angry if you are so devoid of faith? Why would you care if anybody even said, oh, atheists are a religion. Atheists have more faith than most Christians. Atheists have more faith than most religious people. Why would you care? Who cares? It does not matter. If you're indifferent to it all, a true atheist would be indifferent to life completely. You have no passions in life if you don't worship anything, if nothing gives you meaning in life, but you create your own meaning. And so you create your own, basically you're your own God. You want to be your own God, and that is the motivation for many people to be atheists. You want to have complete dominion over everything, and no matter what, you are God, so nothing can tell you what to do. City by the Bay, what are your thoughts regarding anxiety being a spiritual attack? It's very possible, brother. And one thing that I learned is, I used to have, I'm sure you've heard me say, I used to have horrible social anxiety, horrible. And I really could not barely leave the house for a while unless I was going somewhere out in the woods to be alone. And I loved doing that. I loved being alone all the time. I still love being alone a lot of the time to talk to God, but I'm not alone anymore. And I really think that you have to look at it in the fact that you just started your relationship with Christ. You started building that relationship with Christ. And so that relationship with Christ is a threat to the devil. And a threat to the devil is going to always be, responded to by spiritual attacks in one way, shape, or form. Now, the more you find your faith, the more devout you become, the more you will find that the anxiety isn't so much as bad, but you will start having all these other issues. I'm telling you, it's not an easy road. It's not an easy road at all, but it is the road to the truth. I just saw some meme or drawing or something online, and it was, what my plan is, and you have point A to point B, and what God's plan for me is, and it has all these caverns and mountains you got to climb, and pits with sharks in them, and it's all these things, and it's absolutely true. We have to go through these things, and we have to experience these things because we are being prepared. We are being tested in a way, but we are being prepared, because unfortunately, many who get the calling, they will go and they will gravitate towards things like New Age spirituality, or just some generic spirituality where they can be their own gods too, just like atheists. They want complete dominion over their lives, and Christianity's too restrictive, but they're not searching for actual truth. They're just like, well, I don't really believe that Christians have a basis in reality. So I'm just going to have my own little generic spiritual faith, my own little private religion, and I'm going to be allowed to do whatever I want. I'm not going to have any commandments telling me not in ways not to sin. If I want to look at, adult content online, I'll feel fine about it, because what am I guilty about? My God's fine with anything because I created him. It's kind of like that, I think. But you will be hit by spiritual attacks, brother. You will be hit over and over again. I see you're hard at work on something here. Let's see here. What did I miss? Brad Fidel, complexity, argument from ignorance. Okay. Again, I've been watching debates on this. I've been watching scientists speak on it, and there is no idea. There's no way of making a information carrying genome. There is no way. That's why Richard Dawkins got so mad. I mean, I don't know what you're saying. Where am I wrong? When has a genetic mutation or evolutionary process been seen to increase the information in the genome? Brad, please tell me if I'm so ignorant and you're so smart. Please. Nanology. That sounds more like the Bible. What sounds like the Bible, brother? I will. You think you speak for me, but you don't. I'm not trying to speak for you. I understand the psychology of an atheist. I do. Obviously there are exceptions to everything. There are people who don't fit into that. An atheist is either completely indifferent and just, everything is relative morality. You just don't care. Usually an atheist is either a Christian early on, and they just somehow are shamed out of it, or they see all these hypocritical Christians, or they have these overbearing Christian parents and they just don't show them love. Or an atheist is raised by other atheists, and that is the family religion that's passed down. That is the two main types of atheists I see that are passionate about it, that are passionate. Now, again, there are always exceptions. Let's see. Oh, Nathan going off there, City by the Bay. Thank you for laying down the law. I don't know what he was saying, but it must have been something crazy. Hey, what's up, farm guy? Good to see you. Christian, God bless you, man. God bless you too, brother. Or sister, I guess you could be either. I can't see the picture. I don't know if that's you or Jesus. I agree with your words. Oh, thank you very much, farm guy. Yeah, like I said, I don't always like to do the apologetics type stuff, because there are basically the side that either side is not going to move. It's the people who don't understand, and the atheists are usually the loudest, which is why a lot of people who are seeking and might be like, oh, well, maybe this Christianity, I'm going to search for the truth on this, and they hear complete lies about Christianity. They hear lies about the Gospels being written hundreds of years after Christ's death, when they were being taught immediately, within decades after Christ's death and resurrection. You hear lies about the authorship of the Bible, of the different books in the Bible. You hear, and again, none of this stuff can be proven either. Nothing can be proven. But for Christianity to be false, for the whole Bible to be a big hoax, which is what a lot of atheists seem to think, that some of them don't even believe that Jesus was real at all. That he's just a made up guy, or some people think he's a mishmash of all kinds of messianic prophets from that time, and which is just ridiculous, and all kinds of stuff like this. But it is clear from biblical witnesses, which atheists don't ever take into account because it's from the Bible, which is written by many different people, many different people. And there are outside writings of Christians in Christ. And, there's Tacitus, who was talking about Nero, who Nero was blaming they think he started the fire in Rome himself when Rome was burning, and he blamed the Christians, and that was like their scapegoat, but he had killed thousands of Christians, thousands. He persecuted them like crazy because Jesus was the Son of Man, the Son of God, and that is the title of the Caesar, the Son of God. That is the title right there. He is something to be worshipped in the Roman Empire until Constantine came along. I guess I lost most of the atheists. They seemed to be mad, but I asked them the question, and they stormed out just like I guess Richard Dawkins did when I asked that question. But I don't, I want to hear, what motivates them, what gives them meaning in life. Because as I was saying in the video I have yet to release today, they live on faith and they don't understand that they live on faith. Everyone has faith in life. First of all, we have faith that when we go, we'll say what Pastor Cliff Connectley says, when you go to eat dinner at a restaurant, or your mother makes you Thanksgiving dinner, next week, you have faith that she's not going to put poison in it, so you eat it. You don't scientifically test the food to make sure there's no arsenic in it. Literally cannot scientifically test everything in life. You have to take things on faith. And also, they don't believe in God because he cannot be seen. He can't be not be measured. He can't not be understood like that. And they somehow believe in love, right? It cannot be seen. It cannot be measured. How do you prove to me that your mother loves you? Prove to me that love even exists at all? Prove any of this stuff. There is no proof in life. There are very few things, and they are, basically just a couple basic scientific laws and mathematical laws, which again, a law has to have a lawmaker. And I think the atheist who left, Brad Fidel, he was asking, where does God come from? God is outside of space and time. Why would you think someone in space and time could create space and time? It doesn't make any sense. It'd have to be an intelligent being outside of space and time for time to even start. And again, most scientists agree the universe and time had a beginning. And that was, according to them, as far as they know, at the beginning of the Big Bang. In the beginning, there was light, right? The Big Bang. And God had the seeds for the entire universe and all of life already within that Big Bang that he created. He brought the matter, he brought the energy, he began the laws of the universe to, you look at the complexity of the universe, the fine tuning of the universe is absolutely perfect. And there are so few places in the entire, the universe is so big, there's more stars in the sky than there are grains of sand on the beach. That's how many stars there are. We can't see them all, and that's just the observable And God created all of this, and there are tiny little pockets where life can even exist. And yet, within one of those tiny little pockets, right here, life thrived. Didn't even just exist, it thrived in a way that is simply miraculous. But to them, it was just chaos, just non intelligent matter and energy that somehow happened to spawn all this amazing life. And, you know, I get it. It's when you cannot see something, when you cannot touch something or sense it with any of your five senses, you are going to be skeptical. You're going to be want to investigate it. But the evidence shows, and they hate the watchmaker thing. It's like if you are walking along, let's say you're on an alien planet and you're walking along, you're able to breathe, I guess. You're just walking along and you find a watch, a very complex watch, even a simple watch. Do you not think it has a creator? Would you not automatically assume, okay, who created this watch? Where are they now? They must be somewhere close, maybe. I don't know. That doesn't even make a difference whether they're close or not. What makes a difference is we assume everything has a beginning, everything has a creation. And something as advanced and complex as the universe and life itself, it takes so much faith to believe that non-intelligent matter and energy was able to create all this. So much faith. It is absolutely astounding. The name I can't read because it's all like upside down and stuff. Is Zeus a god or fiction? Zeus is written in the genre of mythology, just like all of the other polytheistic religions. The Bible is not written in the genre of mythology, at least. I guess you can make the argument that parts of Genesis may be written in the genre of mythology, but that is, I don't even think that's true, because that's just an argument that can be made, but it absolutely is in the genre. The New Testament is the genre of documentation of autobiography. These people are taking a testimony of the life of Jesus Christ, either from there were eyewitnesses. You have Peter, you have John, you have Matthew, the eyewitnesses accounts, James, and then you have the secondary witnesses who talked to the eyewitnesses, like Luke, who was basically, he was a physician, but he was an amazing investigative journalist, basically. And he documented the accounts that they told him. Fokins. He has many names and metaphors. Medifors. 1 in 4 stars have planets in the inhabitable zone. No, there are Goldilocks zones, and they're not that common. They're not that common. I'm telling you, the Goldilocks zones are a tiny, tiny fraction of the known universe. And again, why would we say, oh, well, anything's possible of all this life spawning over billions of years? But it wasn't billions of years. It was millions of years that there was a chance for life to grow here. But the conditions for life hadn't even come close to being formed until relatively recently in the grand scheme of the universe. A small fraction of the time since the universe was created. So it wasn't even that much time. Not only that, but the creation of intelligent life, time actually is the enemy of that, because the chemical processes immediately break down. The chemical processes to make the amino acids and to make the the proteins to create DNA and intelligent life, they have to be in a perfect laboratory setting, And still, even if they were somehow created with, I guess, lightning struck these certain chemicals that came together a certain way, and they would again immediately break down unless it was the perfect, absolutely perfect setting, and then they would not be able to get the information bearing genomes in them. There is no known way to do this. Which is why Richard Dawkins got so mad and walked out of the interview the first time, and then the second time just dismissed it like, no, no, no. He kind of just blathered on about nothing and then went on to the next subject. Zuba Master 19. Yes, you must have lots of faith to believe stories. You should be skeptical of stories, but there is evidence that most Christians follow. I shouldn't say most Christians, because most Christians don't have a clue, that Christians who investigate it. Dr. John Lennox, an amazing man, he was talking about, at Oxford, he was talking about how, Christianity isn't just blind faith like most atheists believe it is, and a lot of Christians believe it is. It is evidence. We have 6,700 plus original Greek manuscripts. We have the writings of the early church fathers that show that they were all preaching the exact same gospel as before. We have the fact that, there are so many corroborations, and there are so many, outside sources that mention Christians and how they were growing, and it grew so fast. It was like wildfire. And, you have all these things that, yes, you can say, not real, not real. Extraordinary claims that require extraordinary evidence, right? That's the big atheist line. Okay, but then your extraordinary claim is that intelligent life was created from non-intelligent matter and energy. That's your extraordinary claim. So we require extraordinary evidence for that. We absolutely do. You're correct. I just looked it up, and it is 1 in 5 stars. Yeah, there is a sliver that they think may hold life in certain Goldilocks zones. There are very few. And again, that is a small portion of even the 1 in 5 solar systems of what you're saying is correct, which, again, they don't know. We haven't been able to actually study any of these. If we finally get something to the, what is it? What's the nearest solar system, which would take like hundreds of years to get to, I guess. At least hundreds of years. But even if we get something over there studying it, then maybe we'll learn a little bit more. But again, you're trying to say that all of this intelligent life just spawned. It's like, oh, this looks like a good spot of all the places in the universe. Let's all meld together and form information and form a genetic code that is so much like more complex than any kind of computer code. Bill Gates said, I think I have Bill Gates, what he said, or like a bunch of people talking about it. The reason I was looking for the Bill Gates quote was, I don't have it anymore. I don't like Bill Gates. I was just looking for that quote by him. Too many notes. I got so many quotes of these people who, they're like, it's such complex code, and there is no way that because there is nothing that shows us that it just spawns from nothing, because even an existing strand of DNA cannot take on more information through a mutation or anything. It just changes it changes the information that's already there, which some creator had to have created that. And to believe it didn't would require a huge amount of faith. A huge amount of faith. Hey, Prophet of Truth, how you doing? Good to see you again, brother. I got two blue wrenches of power in here. I don't know if City by the Bay had to go somewhere or not, but I know he was working hard earlier. Um, and again, don't if somebody's just trolling, if they're not saying something that's completely inappropriate, don't kick them off of there because I like seeing it. I like you can roast me all you want for sure. I enjoy it. Um, Fu, I think Jesus is a immortal man sent to us to move our people in a positive direction. I think he's still alive, walking around, helping us and performing miracles. Alpha Centauri was yeah, thank you, Fu. Yeah, well, I mean, it's absolutely fine for you to think that, but that is going off of no evidence. That's just something that um, you kind of created. He is eternal. He is immortal, but he is no longer a man. He tells us he descended back up into heaven to be with the Father, and he works through the Holy Spirit now down here on in our physical and our spiritual realm, which kind of intermingle. I don't have an Elon Musk imagination. Neither do I, brother. I wish I had. I don't know about his imagination. I wish I had his intelligence for sometimes, but I was not intellectual at all, except for when I was sitting there, smoking pot, and I was like, oh man, we're all just we just one big cell. Everybody had that feeling when they were younger, even if you weren't a stoner, probably, that we're all just one. The Earth is just a cell. Our universe is just a cell in one bigger body, and it just keeps going on and on and on. And all the cells in our body are their own little universes, and things like that. And I would always think things like that, and just the wildest stuff. But I mean, it's fun to think about stuff like that for sure. But when I when I got older and I started to go through all the struggles in life and everything, and then it was just like none of the quest for truth mattered anymore. I didn't even really think about that kind of stuff anymore at all. And I was just like, well, I'm just I'm just suffering. My life is cursed. I live in hell anyway. What do I care? I'm not going to even waste my time with this kind of stuff. And then when I was saved, and I promise you, I have wisdom that I never learned in my life. Again, I was not able to even comprehend the Bible when I read it before I was saved, and now I read it, fanatically all the time. And everything opened up to me. And I was just, God sent me on this truth quest to see his nature. He didn't take me straight to Jesus Christ. He took me through all the other main religions, all the other philosophies and everything. And I was like, listening to like Carl Jung and Alan, I can't remember Alan's last name. Man, I don't know why. All these like modern day philosophers and stuff, and old philosophers too. But I just thought, okay, I'm just going to make my own religion now. I'm going to make my own because that's going to be, none of the real religions have any basis in fact, because I grew up in a time where all the lies about Christianity were being hatched, were being told to everyone. All of these complete lies. And then, of course, the Dan Brown books and movies came out, the Da Vinci Code and Angels and Demons and all that, and they all started going to the Gnostic Gospels and how the original Gospels were just not the truth, and the Catholic Church tried to hide it all, and all this stuff. And I was like, yeah, that's right. They don't know what they're talking about. And I bought into all of that because I didn't have a clue. I was very unenlightened, very not intellectual. So I just didn't know what to do with all of it. Prophet, I'm great. Imagination of ET stuff. I can't comment. Don't see any value in that stuff. Yeah, the ET stuff. I mean, I I am kind of interested in the what it is. I think probably most likely it is some sort of government manned experiments that we're seeing, that we're witnessing. The videos that we have of the UFOs doing defying the laws of physics and stuff. And I really think that I heard something that these are actually spiritual beings they're not aliens, they're from like a spiritual type realm, another dimension. And they, I guess, somehow found a way to exist here. And it's more like, I don't know. I don't know. I kind of am going down that rabbit hole a little bit, but the what the last story I heard on this that made me start thinking about it was there was an atheist or New Age spiritual um, investigator of UFOs or what is it, UAPs or something, and he was just going around interviewing hundreds of these people who said they'd been abducted, and all of them kept saying there's no way to get out of there. You want to get out so bad, but there's no escaping it until they're done with you. And he found only a couple incidences of people saying they were able to escape it by invoking the name of Jesus Christ. And then he was like, "Oh, that's really weird." And he was like, "But I'm not going to go down that because I'll be just booted out of my field if I say something like that." So he went to talk to um, other UFO investigators and people who were actually like pretty serious about the stuff, and they would not go on the record, but they were like, "Please tell the stories." The only way we've heard people escaping these abductions was by like singing a Christian hymn or invoking the name of Jesus or saying something from the Bible verses, and that was the only ones, that was the common theme of the ones who said they were able to instantly get out of that abduction scenario by invoking the name of Jesus Christ. It really is something else. I mean, obviously that could be made up too, but I'm not saying that's definite, but it seems to be pretty interesting enough to look at a little bit. So I think ET made us, and that is God. I mean, that was a theory that I had too. What, the ancient aliens seeded us or whatever? But who made the ancient aliens then? I mean, you have to go back to the beginning, is what I'm saying. Like, even the argument for God is different than the argument for Christianity in general, because the argument for Christianity, first you have to get to the point where you're like, there is or there isn't a God. If you think there is a God, then you search for the truth of that God. And when you search for the truth of that God, of every single religion, faith, spirituality, whatever, the best evidence is for Jesus Christ. The most reliable figure is Jesus Christ. The perfect moral teachings is Jesus Christ. The man who changed the world much more than any other being has ever done, any other figure has ever done, is Jesus Christ. And you can't deny that. So it's what, this poor carpenter from Nazareth who hung around with prostitutes and tax collectors and farmers and fishermen and zealots. That's the guy who changed the world more than any other figure who has ever existed. It kind of makes you want to look into him a little bit more and kind of see maybe there is some truth there. And then you go down that thread and you have to learn the truth about these things, or you have to at least get to a point where you say, I don't know. And that's okay, because there's going to be things we don't know for sure. Especially referring back to the Old Testament. The Old Testament was very difficult in places. There's the whole Mosaic law thing where people are saying that God ordered everybody, Moses and Joshua and all these prophets, to do all this stuff that was just horrible sounding, by our standards, and you got to look at the each individual situation and find out, oh, okay, this is a you have to understand the relationship that God had with people at the time. This was before Jesus Christ. There was a different relationship. God created Adam, and Adam and Eve originally, what is the first thing they really did? They lived in the Garden of Eden happily for a couple, who knows how long, and then they ate the forbidden fruit. They were tempted to eat the forbidden fruit. Then you have Adam and Eve's children. Cain slew Abel. Then you have the world getting so bad, and actual angels, fallen angels, coming down to lay with the women of the earth and causing all of this evil to just spread to everyone. God had to make the flood and start reset. And then what happened? The evil just came over with Noah and his family, and it just kept going on and on. And the whole story, or all these stories in the Old Testament, are to show you that man has fallen. Man is by nature evil unless you are in the presence of God and devoted to God. And that is the only thing keeping us from this devolution into sin. Okay, Enoch went up to the heavens, space, for 300 years. Jesus' name is very powerful, I agree. Yet, a lot of Christians are hit or miss on the book of Enoch because they say it's not in canon and all this, but I personally believe in the book of Enoch. The book of Enoch is quoted in First James, I believe, and maybe even First Peter. I know definitely it's in First James it's quoted. So you have the canonical scripture and gospels and epistles all connecting it together. So obviously that was part of the canon at the time, and all the apostles and everyone was reading it. So I think we just got rid of it. The Council of Nicaea got rid of it, and that was one of the only books I think they got rid of, which they shouldn't have gotten rid of. But I understand why they did. I understand the arguments against it too. I really do. They're saying it was written later than what it was claimed to have been written. It wasn't written the same time as all the Mosaic books and everything. It was later than those. Prophet of truth. I think one thing that we can't get our mind around is God was always with no beginning or end. Our God was just here. Amazing and mind-blowing thought. Absolutely. It's like trying to think of eternity. You cannot grasp the idea of eternity. You can't grasp anything outside of our laws of physics, our laws of the universe. And then we know that our laws of physics are not set in every single situation, because the atomic universe has completely different, at least we think so. We're not 100% sure, but they supposedly have completely different laws of physics and everything down there. And of course, we can't go down there and test them. But the way things interact with each other that we have observed on the subatomic level are completely against our laws of physics. So let's see. Where was I here? Oh, no beginning or end means ET has time to become so far advanced to change our DNA. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying the aliens seeded us theory is so far-fetched. No, I don't think it is. I think you can absolutely make an argument for that, but I think that for me, and this is not biblical, this is not a Christian view, I believe that the Bible tells us, the book of Enoch included, tells us where it goes. Book of Enoch goes more into the fallen angels and the Nephilim, and how they were creating these monstrosities. They called them heroes of old, but they called them monstrosities too. And I think that is what we were recording when we are recording, like, the polytheistic religions. If that makes sense, I hope it makes sense to you. So the Zeuses and the Thors and Odins and all of those Norse and Roman and Greek and all the many polytheistic religions, I think they were accounts of the Nephilim or some kind of, I don't know if it's spiritual. I don't know if it's what it is. It's divine beings. I don't know, but I think that makes more sense to me. So, I mean, what do you all think about that? I mean, I could be way off base, and that's just an observation, which, I mean, I'm not set in stone on or anything, but it's one of those things that I kind of like to think about. It's kind of like, what is God's plan for us? I think that God is preparing us for something. I do think that, followers of Christ will see the kingdom of heaven. And I do think, what Jesus said was true. Absolutely. But we are not told what happens next, or if there is a next, or if we just stay one with God the Father for the rest of eternity. We don't know that. Maybe God is preparing us. Maybe we have to live through all these different experiences so we can be prepared to, maybe as an individual or maybe as a collective, start our own universe, create our own universe as divine beings. And then it will go on and on. I don't know. I mean, I guess you could say that could be contrary to Christian belief, but I don't think it is, because nothing is said about it. And we don't know what God's plan is. And I'm not saying it's an important thing, because all I need to know, Jesus has given me. All I need to know, or he will give me. I know this. So it's just something I like to think about. You agree with that, with my theory on we're being prepared for something more? Yeah, that's just kind of a theory I've had. And why I say this is because, why did God give us free will? And why do we have to go through suffering? And why do we have to do all this? I understand we were created to be beings capable of love. And without free will, we are not capable of loving, because you have to have the choice to reject. You have to have the choice to turn away, which then you have to have evil. And when you choose to turn away from God, evil and corruption build in the world. And it's not just in one individual's actions. You could be paying for the sins of someone generations ago, not even in your family, somehow paying for those sins, because the corruption lasts. Maybe somewhere generations ago, someone started your great grandfather drinking, and then all of a sudden you have the alcoholism in your family, and you just have that abusive situation going down for generations, because I know there are families like that who've been abusive alcoholics for generations. So you're paying for the sins of people so far ago that you wouldn't even know their names. Let's see, foe, ET arrival, or a heaven for our soul. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure exactly what that means, but maybe it was something I was saying that I don't remember what you were referring to. Prophet, I met a guy that was really into the Nephilim. I just always been into the scriptures, just never took much thought into giants and ET stuff. At my age, I need to look deeper into this. Yeah, it is biblical. It is biblical. It talks about this all right before Noah's flood, for sure. And then the book of Enoch expands on it, which the Bible clearly holds Enoch in this high regard and says he's one of the few who didn't die. He ascended up into heaven. And, they refer to Enoch all throughout, all the way to, like I said, I think the book of the epistle of First James was the last reference to Enoch, and it was actually the book of Enoch that he was referencing. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely not important to our plan, to our life, for sure. But it is interesting to think about if you just have nothing else to think about, I think. And I study the Bible and Christianity and different faiths and religions so much that I just kind of hatch these little ideas sometimes, and I like to kind of think like, what does this mean, and go deeper into it. But yeah, you need to. I'm not saying you need to. I like to focus on the New Testament, and then how the Old Testament relates to the New Testament, how they were all connected. Knowing what prophecies were fulfilled and how many prophecies were fulfilled. Over 300 prophecies Christ fulfilled from the Old Testament, and just all this just amazing stuff. And this is a book that, again, a lot of atheists say it was just a big hoax, which, I mean, writing this amazing book of profound wisdom that has inspired and saved so many people, millions, if not billions of people over the course of 2,000 years, and even longer from the Old Testament, is just, that's not just some little conspiracy that pops up. And if it was going to be conspiracy that they're trying to make people more obedient or more docile so they can be more controlled, then you would not have the freedom that Jesus Christ gives you during salvation. Yes, you are to serve your fellow man, but it's very anti-government and anti-authority, any authority except for God. And so you would think that they would create, if they were creating this big conspiracy, they would create something that had you obedient to authority all the time. And I understand there are some things that say, yeah, we have to be obedient to authority. We have to follow the government, but we don't have to. We have to also stand up to their in righteousness when they're not being righteous. We'll just put it that way. Preparing us, absolutely, Fokins. I love the name. Prophet, what I have noticed is that men and women are much taller than when I was a child. My dispatcher is 6'6". I am 5'4". It was common to see men 5'9" to 6 feet. Makes me wonder if giants are reemerging. I don't know if they ever went away, because they existed after the flood. They absolutely did. I mean, look at David. David fought the giant. That was way after the flood. That was way after Moses. Moses had encounters with the giants after, and they weren't always, from what Moses was saying, they weren't evil. The ones that he was talking to, maybe some were saved because they weren't evil men, or whatever evil Nephilim. I mean, there are so many things in the Old Testament, and what a verse from the New Testament I like to use to think about things sometimes, to put it into perspective, was when Nicodemus was talking to, one of the Pharisees was talking to Christ, but one of the good Pharisees, and Christ was telling them, truly, truly, you have to be born again to see the kingdom of heaven. And that's when Nicodemus was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm an old man. How can I be born again, climb up the womb and come out the birth canal? What are you talking about? And Jesus said, the things born of the flesh are of the flesh. The things born of the spirit are of the spirit. And I think that is more profound than we understand, because there could be spiritual accounts all through the Old and the New Testament. And they're not going to tell us, come out right and say this was a spiritual account, or this, there could absolutely be spiritual things, or, they could have condensed the story into something that men at the time would understand. That's what I think happened a lot of times in the Old Testament. You had very simple men. You had basically, just above cavemen. It was the Bronze Age. And you were trying to explain to them these profound things that were absolutely, if one of the great teachers of the time couldn't understand what it means to be born again, that it is like a spiritual thing, then how could they understand the creation of the universe more than, let there be light, and in the beginning there was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and all these things. It's so profound and complex and deep that you just have to think about it, and you have to wrestle with it, just like Jacob did. You have to wrestle with God sometimes. You have to wrestle with these things and these concepts, and I'm telling you, they will begin to become clear to you, because it's not about whether was there truly a man named Adam and a woman named Eve, and they were the first people, and were there really this figure or that figure, and did this really happen? What matters is the wisdom of it. And what matters is definitely the existence of Jesus Christ, which they say over and over was a factual account. This is a truthful account. And they they made sure they knew that. Excuse me. Got a little dry throat there. Yeah, that's true too, folks. Oxygen levels were a lot higher years ago, making animals a lot bigger. Yeah, they were talking about how much oxygen and how much warmer it was during the dinosaurs age, with the T-Rexes and the brontosauruses and stuff like that. And it was just the prime setting, fertile soil and prime setting for life. And that's why you had these huge animals. And because the trees grew taller, you needed things like long necks on the dinosaurs, or then you needed the bigger carnivorous dinosaurs to be able to take them down, and all these different things. So yeah, it's definitely cool to think about. Yeah, it is an interesting take. Prophet, when you look at the past 1 year, the increase of knowledge with technology has went Mach. I'm certain last days now is speeding up. Yeah, I have to tend to agree with you. And things like AI and stuff like this is very, I would have been concerned about it. I used to be concerned about these types of things, but I'm not concerned at all anymore. Christ puts me at such ease. If Putin decides to press that button, I am good with the Lord, and I'm trying to get as many people, as many as I can, to that peace, to that understanding, to that profound wisdom and love that Christ gives us. And I know why so many reject it, because I rejected him. I rejected him because I thought it was, like I said, non-intellectual, just dumb people. Look at how TV shows, for instance, portray Christians. It is very rarely, some intelligent guy. Maybe they'll have an intelligent priest on every now and then in a movie or something, but it is almost always either a hypocrite or just the dumbest people. And I was watching the show Young Sheldon, which is like a spinoff of The Big Bang Theory, with my daughter. And man, they bash Christians from the beginning of that show to the very end. And I was like, this is just ridiculous. And I use it as an opportunity to tell my daughter that no, these are not real portrayals of good Christians the way Christians should act. These are portrayals of people who have that blind faith and just don't understand Christ at all. They think it's just whatever they're told, and they don't know much, and it's, yeah, it just really made me upset, but not upset, but that is our society. That's how they treat Christians, and especially in entertainment. Foe, there will be light in 7 days is probably a really simple way to explain the beginning. How much would you explain the beginning to a lot of more simple minded people? Yeah. And not only that, Foe, but there are, I think there is a verse in the Old and the New Testament that says one day could be 1,000 years and vice versa for God. Time is irrelevant for God. So 7 days, is that really 7 days, or is that 7 billion years, or is it, who knows? I mean, he could be talking about literally any amount of time, or 1 year could be, yeah, a trillion years, I guess. It doesn't matter. God works on his own time because he does not live with the constraint of time like we do. He knows exactly when to work within the universe, exactly what to do to get to where we need to go. And that's all it's about. It's not about what he needs. If he needed something to happen, he could just skip the whole human experiment and just make it happen. He needs people here with free will, with our conscience, our conscience, and he needs us to go through whatever we're going through for a reason. And I am so fascinated with what that reason could be. I really am. I think the last days is referring to the last days of the church until its return to see people, or to see who have matured and who spreads love. Those people will be saved from the earth's natural events until ED's return. Oh, do you mean ET? ET, yeah, okay. ET's return. So yeah, so you're going with the alien. The alien is like they seeded us, and then they're basically, growing us in a little test tube, and then all of a sudden, once we're perfectly balanced out, then they're going to come back, and whatever their end game is gonna happen. Um, I mean, like I said, it makes more sense to me than atheism. It really does. Atheism is the most extreme uh, claim of faith that I know. Because, I mean, agnostics, okay, be an agnostic. I don't know. That's easy. I mean, you can be a fence sitter. I wouldn't recommend being an agnostic, but at least they are not making a truth claim. Well, I guess they still are, but their truth claim is not is saying they don't know. So, explain mature. Yeah, I think I'll answer for him if what I think. It's like kind of like you put a loaf of bread in the oven, and you gotta sit and wait for it to rise and everything till it's risen completely and it's done and it's browned and everything. That would be my guess of what he's saying, but I don't want to put words in his mouth. C native, can you do a shout out to my son Rockwa Rokarwa in New Zealand for me, mate? Hey, let me make sure. Like Rokarwa, I have to make sure. I have to make sure it's not something bad, because people have been like, "Hey, can you do a shout out for And they'll put some like really obscene name. But how are you doing, Rokarwa? That's awesome. I'm glad to have you all here. Nope, sorry, I just pressed something I shouldn't have there. Like faux here, like that is. I mean, it's not something I can't say, but yeah, reading his name, it'd be You read it out loud. And I do it without thinking most of the time. But I learned my lesson a couple nights ago, I think it was, when somebody had a really, really offensive name, or one, at least one that would get me kicked off of YouTube probably. People who are picked and are level headed, who spread love so that we don't use greed and anger to conquer other species for our benefit. They want us to advance our civilization so that we can do the same. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the, what is it, the Anunnaki story or whatever. Is that kind of similar, Foe? Um, what was it? Well, no, it's not exactly like that, because the Anunnaki supposedly brought us here, and we were like we were built to be. They had slaves with this alien race, and this alien race rebelled against them, so they had to create their own slaves because they needed to mine enough gold, so that they could put gold in the atmosphere of their home planet. So apparently they took like 99% of the gold that was here. It was apparently just gold everywhere. And they took it, and gold dust in the atmosphere will reflect the heat of the sun, so it will not all come into the atmosphere and burn everything up and collapse the atmosphere, I guess. It's like an artificial atmosphere. And the ones that were mining, the alien race that was enslaved, that was mining the gold, they, I'm trying to remember this all. They rebelled, so they were all killed, I guess. And then humans were created. And the first human was named Adamu or something. And it was all just kind of like it's basically just a fictional story, but it was interesting for sure. I mean, I love watching and hearing about all these little theories that people have about the Anunnaki and even the Nephilim and stuff, which that is based in biblical scripture. City by the Bay. I had money on Browns today. Hello, sorry. Hey, don't you worry about it at all, man. We're still half a game up in first in the division, so I really, you know what? I have some bonus money still in my account for like DraftKings or something, and I was gonna put some down on the under, but I'm glad I didn't, because it was more scoring at the very end than I thought it was gonna be. It was like 36 over under. But it was a good game. I liked watching the snow games. I used to love playing in the snow too when I was playing football. Prophet, honestly don't know where to go with this. My weakness is spending a lot of time reading things of the supernatural or sci-fi stuff. Yeah, Prophet. Don't, if that's a problem for you, definitely, if it's taking time away from the important stuff, from reading the Bible or studying scripture, or even, watching Christian content, or spending time with your family and trying to spread the gospel to others, and things like this, then definitely you have to know what's a problem in your life and what to trim out of your life. For me, it's just like I'm not serious about it. I like, oh, that's kind of a cool story, but nothing is set in stone, because I do not ever claim to be smart enough to even comprehend the slightest part of God's plan. I completely fail every time I lean on my own understanding. Completely fail. So what I do is, if it's something that's, oh yeah, it's just a little fun thing for me to just ponder that, okay, I'll spend a little time thinking about it, like, oh, that's kind of cool. But I turn to God for everything now, and I pray, and I try to always be thinking about God in every situation. As you guys know, I say it over and over. It's my walk in faith thing. Every situation I ask God, what am I here for? What am I doing? And I don't do this enough. I say it all the time, and I don't do it enough. But I try to always focus on Him wherever I go. And that I've found, the more I do that,
the more I can feel the Holy Spirit working within me, the more I feel this peace in my heart, the more I feel this wisdom that just I almost never know what I'm going to talk about when I go out to do a video every day, and I do one or two every day almost, and I go out and I'll talk for half an hour or 45 minutes sometimes. Sometimes I'll write down a couple verses or something, but usually it's I don't even use them, and then I'll find them weeks later. I'm like, oh yeah, that verse, and I'll do something on it then. But it is all I pray to God before I do every video. I'm like, please guide my tongue, guide my thoughts, and He does, and it just spills out of me. Sometimes it's not good, but most of the time it's like, okay, but that's I think that might help somebody in their spiritual journey to find Christ or to be closer to Christ. And the more I surrender myself, I think of it like a valve, and we are in charge of opening that valve or as much as we can or shutting it. And we have to have it completely open, and the Holy Spirit will work completely through us. And the more we shut it off, we shut it down, like, no, I'm going to go and do my own thing today. I'm going to go and lust after women or go gamble or go drink a bunch of beer until I'm wasted or whatever. You were turning that valve off more and more. And it's just, we control how much the Holy Spirit works through us. And that is not because He doesn't have the power to overcome our will, for sure. The reason is because we must freely choose Him. God will never force Himself upon us. Now, His consequences will absolutely be forced upon everyone. His judgment, the consequences for all of our actions will absolutely be forced upon us. There's nothing we can do about that. But we as individuals choose. Are we opening our life to God, or are we closing ourselves off and just following our own dreams and hopes and passions? The mining the gold, I think, happened in the Grand Canyon. Got to explain the mummies for there somehow. Oh yeah, all those things in the Grand Canyon. Now I don't know, because the government won't let you go to some sections of the Grand Canyon because there's like supposedly all this ancient Egyptian stuff there, and I mean I don't know. I mean it's another cool story, but they're absolutely verified advanced civilizations all over North America, all over South America, all over the world that we were just, and maybe possibly even Antarctica, which there was apparently a Google photo of these huge steps going up to this big opening in this, like it looked like a building, but it was obviously covered in ice and snow, and that was covering it up. And as soon as luckily somebody got a screenshot of it, but they went back to find that exact location, and it was all blurred out, and they changed the photo of it or something. I mean, it's all kinds of cool stuff that you can dig up on the internet for sure. It does add to the speculation that no one is allowed to go to Antarctica except for the zones, like the tiny little base camps or whatever they have on the on the shores there. You can't go and just, I'm going to go do an expedition of Antarctica, and you have to have permission from every single country that has a piece of Antarctica to go and do an expedition of any kind, and then they only allow certain kinds of expeditions. Let's see. Oh, what's my Super Bowl matchup prediction? Man, I like the Lions going in the NFC, and I don't know. Obviously I want to say the Steelers, which they have a very good chance to, but I'm going to say, just so I won't be a homer, I'll say Lions and Bills this year. Even though I don't think the Bills are as good as some of the past years, but we'll just go with them. Because I don't think KC can how hard it is to win 3 years in a row. I mean, it's never been done, but you have to have everything go right. No last minute injuries, no balls hopping the wrong way. It always has to hop your way. You know, the luck has to go your way a lot too to get to a Super Bowl for sure. They've got the talent though. Profit. I've been driving 3 decades. Honestly, anything outside in the civilian world, I am lost. Past year, I've been listening to more people. Overwhelmingly, to me, uh, what people are into world has passed me by. Don't feel bad, Prophet. I, I honestly, I feel the same way, and that's the way that Christ wants you. That's the way that He absolutely wants us all. He wants us to hate the things of this world. He wants us to, despise the things in this world that aren't of God. The world obviously is different than the world of creation. He wants us to love creation, including people. But there is so much corruption and so much just twisted darkness. And I really do think that it's the end times too, because they said in the end times it will be like the times before Noah's flood. And I forget the list. He was going down the list of all the things that was happening before Noah's flood, but he said people will not know. People won't know at all because people will just be drinking and getting married or giving their hands in marriage or doing all these regular things that people do every day, just going about their lives and not even aware that we are surrounded by so much filth, and it is ingrained in every part of our culture. I mean, every part of our culture. It is so sad to see how you cannot escape. I'm trying to raise 2 young girls, and you cannot escape the corruption. It just seeps in. I can homeschool them if I actually could physically do it, which I'm getting closer to that, trying to do it, I think, honestly, the way schools are going. But luckily, we got our kids in a charter school that is very nice. And even them, they got so many problems too. But compared to public schools, if I had to send my kids to public schools, I would be homeschooling them. Oh, you got Lions versus Bills too? It must be a popular pick. I think they're the two right now. Obviously, Kansas City is so good because they're always so good with Patrick Mahomes. He's the best. But I do think that I'm hoping the Bills finally get it if the Steelers can't. But I want to see the Russell Wilson redemption. He's a good Christian, and he gets a bad rap because people don't like that he's so positive all the time. They call it toxic positivity or something, is what I heard. And I didn't really know what to make of him. I didn't know too much about him, personally, but I'm starting to know more about him now that he's a Steelers quarterback. And he's a good Christian guy. And there's quite a few good Christian guys in the NFL, and obviously a lot more who are just bad people abusing their wives and stuff like that, and abusing girlfriends. Bill Gorman, Atlas had the weight of the world on his shoulders. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Bill. That was that was the mythology for sure. Prophet of Truth. Bill Gorman, Atlas had served me well in trucking. Yeah. Yeah, but I think it's good to know all the mythologies too. I mean, you don't take them as some kind of serious word, but you can find wisdom in those things. But I'm telling you, the more I read the Bible, the more I realize all the wisdom I'm finding in all these other religions, it's all in the Bible anyway. So there's really, you just change your story sometimes, but I mean, every single bit of wisdom is in there. And, sometimes you're like, oh, well, maybe that bit of wisdom is not in there, but nope, it is. You just have to dig deeper because you have to get profoundly complex when digging deep into scriptures. I mean, you could seriously sit and talk about stories like the Adam and Eve in the garden, in the forbidden fruit, or the creation story, or Abraham taking Isaac, God telling Abraham to take Isaac up and sacrifice his son, and all these things. You see, I don't know. Okay, so for you Christians in here, I know, City by the Bay, you're a newer Christian, but Prophet, what do you think about? What do you think the wisdom or the lesson is? The main lesson of God telling Abraham to go sacrifice his son is. I know there's, I'll give you my take on it if I hear yours, or if you maybe not thought about it, that's fine too. I'll just answer then. Foe, spreading STDs on purpose is also, yeah, that's also a sin, Foe, for sure. It sure is. And I know far too many people have done that too. Thankfully, I was only good looking for and single for about 2 years, a year and a half probably, actually. I was and that was the only time in my entire life that I was not dealing with, but girls were actually approaching me and I wasn't trying to chase them all awkwardly and like didn't know what to do and like, oh, hi, how are you? You look so beautiful. So I was so awkward around women when I was younger. Let's see. Lila B, is this channel a Christian Catholic channel? Um, I I love Catholics. My half of my family was Catholic, but I'm not a Catholic. I'm not in a denomination. I actually go to a Baptist church right now. I've gone to a couple of non-denominational churches. I grew up Presbyterian. My grandfather was a Catholic who married a Presbyterian woman, and that was, uh, that the Presbyterian part is what stuck, I guess, what won. But I am happy to discuss anything you'd like to discuss, Lila, if you're still there. Do you have anything? I don't know. I know a little bit about the inner workings of Catholicism, but I if you have a theological question, I can definitely dig into that for you, or a philosophical question, I guess. Prophet, I like mythology. It has a lot of correlation to the Bible. Yeah, I think it does too. I mean, it's a lot of these things. You're learning more about how the early man thought and how they experienced the world and just all these different things. Michelle Eckler, favorite Christmas gift. Oh man, I'd have to think about that. Wow. I mean, probably one of the nice like red line bike when I was younger. That was probably the most I was excited for because I used to ride my bike everywhere. I think that was probably my favorite. What's your favorite gift, Michelle? That's a good question. Yeah, that's true. Oh, yes. Yes. Jesus is the best Christmas gift. Oh, man. Prophet, how did I see? That's how corrupted I've been. That's how corrupted I've been. But I did go, I took my girls to Busch Gardens, Christmas Town. They have it all decorated, and it's a beautiful park anyway, if you've never been there. They have it all decorated for Christmas, and they have all these different shows singing Christmas carols and doing Christmas stories and stuff. And, just, I felt like I was trying to hide myself. I was like literally crying when they were singing Christmas carols about Jesus and joy to the world, let earth receive her king. And I just things hit me so much harder now. It truly is amazing how much I've changed over the years since God saved me. Foe, can you help me understand why they think hurting kids is okay? Um, oh, which one? Why? Who thinks hurting kids is okay? You mean like our society in general? Because that is, I totally agree. I think it's horrible. I don't know why, except for we are just a corrupt society who just is. I don't know how our society as a whole can be redeemed except for God working through his servants, Christ's servants, and somehow spreading the light through them. But there are so many who reject God. The vast majority reject God now. And that is just sad to see. It honestly is. But I say that, and we go through some really hard times in this country because look at the roaring 20s of the 1920s. And then look at the Great Depression. And then, as bad as the Great Depression was, everyone came together. There were community gardens. There were people learning to scrimp and save and actually live off the land and do all these different things they'd never done before. Excuse me again. Foe, that is wrong on another level. Yeah, for sure, Michelle. Lila, I see. Yeah, anything, any question about the Bible, about Jesus? I, I'm not discriminating against you for since you're Catholic. I know a lot of evangelicals and Catholics don't get along, and different denominations don't get along with other denominations. I'm not like that. I will go into any church. I'll go into a Catholic church. In fact, there's a Catholic church in Arkansas I really want to go to that was built by, I think, Frank Lloyd Wright, the famous architect. And it's like a glass cathedral. And it's just beautiful. It's like a it's a lot of windows everywhere, so the light's just shining in, but it's also like a cabin in the woods type feel too. It's just, I recommend everybody look it up. I don't know if it's called the Glass Chapel or I don't know what it's called though. Maybe look up Glass Cathedral in Arkansas is the best thing. Prophet Abraham was being tested to see how much he trusted God. See, that's an answer that I was when I first was diving into that story. That's the answer a lot of people got, but there are so many things going on there because you have to look at the context of the time always for all scriptures, and at the time, what was the big thing that God was fighting against pretty much, who was trying to lead his people against. They were all worshiping false gods, false idols, and child sacrifice was one of the biggest problems. And it was always the notion that the penalty for sin is death. So you had to sacrifice the animals, and that's why we had to have the sacrifice of Christ. But I think that God stopped Abraham at the last second because he needed Abraham to see the sting of it all. So he couldn't just tell him that, no, child sacrifice is wrong. He had to show him why he was wrong. Because how many people, when they are told not to do something, rather than shown why something is bad, how many people, make that correlation when you're just told something rather than actually going through something? It's like, don't touch the hot stove. Oh, with kid, I'm going to touch that hot stove. Ow, I got burned. Oh, now I see why you're not telling me to do that. Don't sacrifice children as you did, not you in particular, Abraham. Abraham's family was worshiping false gods and doing things like child sacrifice. I know his wife was also doing the same. So his wife Sarah was doing the same. So he had to show him why, because the entire walk for 3 days and 3 nights, again, 3 days and 3 nights, that's the Jonah and the whale, or in the big fish. That's Jesus Christ, the 3 days and 3 nights before he was resurrected. You have these themes, the Trinity. And for 3 days and 3 nights, he had to sit there and think and beg God, please take me instead. I do not want to sacrifice my only child that you promised me for so long, and I could not have until I was an old man. Please do not take my child. Take me, anything but this. And he had to make him think he was going to make him go through with it until the last second. And I really do think that's all. You also have to think, and then what did God do? He said, no, I'm not going to make you do this because I'm a just and loving God. And what did he do instead? He sacrificed his own son, Jesus Christ. He sacrificed his own son instead of making Abraham go through that. He will not ask us to do something he will not do, and he will not make us do something that is morally evil like this. So that's what I'm saying. You can spend so much time getting so much wisdom in all of these stories, all these verses and chapters. Bill, I got a new right hip for Christmas. Be home alone after Christmas Eve, released from the hospital. That's right. You were talking about that one of the first nights I was on here, right? Or a week or so ago. I'm praying everything goes good for you, Bill. I know you said you don't have really anybody at home helping you, but hopefully somebody's coming in to check on you or something. Didn't you say you have cats too? Is somebody taking care of your cats or dogs? You got somebody taking care of them, right? I'm sure you do. Lila, I am Christian Catholic. I would like to know when was my current church founded? Like year and by whom? Oh, I see. Yeah. So, yeah, I know that the Catholic Church was saying to be the original and everything, but really the original, if you're going by what Peter was the first pope and everything and all this, and I understand that completely, but the churches were completely corrupt from the very beginning. If you remember Paul saying, I know as soon as I'm gone, these churches are going to fall apart. It's just going to go to basically to hell. And look at the Corinthians. Look at how corrupt it was. There was like a love triangle with this man and his wife and his mother-in-law. It was just all kinds of insanity going on. But I'm saying I don't even think a church is even important at all. I really don't. I go out into the woods daily and I talk to God and I pray. And when I come home, I contemplate everything that I saw that drew my attention that day, that caught my attention. And that is how God talks to me. And he talks to me sometimes in profound ways and sometimes in very subtle ways. And sometimes I can't figure out what he's trying to tell me, or maybe I'm getting the messages wrong. And so I will go into my Bible and I will meditate on all these things, and I will look through the scriptures, through the gospels, through the prophecies and everything, and try to make sense of my life through the scriptures. And I think that maybe it's just because I'm doing the YouTube channel and that I work with people constantly. So there is probably at the very minimum 6 hours to probably around 16 hours a day when I am actively working on helping people in their spiritual journey to Christ. I am helping people who are lost in the same hopeless hell that I was lost in. That is all that matters to me, is that I help people find that peace and that love. I could care less whether they choose the Catholic Church because they say that's the original church, or they choose to be a Baptist, or they choose to be a Presbyterian or a Lutheran. That does not matter to me at all. All I care about is, or if they choose no church at all, I care that you have that personal connection with Jesus Christ, because I do not follow any religion. I follow the teachings of Jesus Christ. That's all I follow. But I understand. I absolutely understand the importance of church, especially to most people. Most people need that community. People need that direction, that structure, that foundation, for sure. It's very important for some. For me, it just was not, and I don't think that for a lot of people, I think a lot of people have been turned off by that. Like, for instance, Lila, I don't know. I hope you're still here, because I know I ramble on for a while. But the Pope, his recent comments it really disappointed me. It really did. He made the comment that all religions lead to God. All religions are pathways to God. And then he made a comment that the human heart is fundamentally good, or something like that. I believe is this quote. It's something close to that. So the human heart is fundamentally good. Wrong. Isaiah says the human heart is deceitful. Who can trust it? Above all things, it is deceitful. You know what I mean? And then obviously, not all pathways lead to God. There is only one pathway that leads to God, and that is through Jesus Christ. He is the way and the truth and the light. No one can come to the Father except through him. That is absolutely not biblical at all. Prophet Bill Gorman, not the Christmas gift I would want. Wishing you a great new year, a new hip. Yes, Bill. God bless you, brother. Least favorite Christmas gift is a traffic ticket. I don't think I've ever had one right before Christmas, but yeah, that's not a fun one. Or right on Christmas. Faux or flyers showing up what people are really into. Ooh, I don't know what we were talking about with that. Sorry, brother. Michelle, I seem like a nice. Oh, well, thank you very much, Michelle. I try to do my best to be a good servant. That's all I want to do. I really don't care about money. Even I've lived just above the poverty line for 15 years. I had 4 back surgeries, and they damaged my sciatic nerve during the first one, Michelle. And so 2 years ago, I was saved. I don't know if you've heard my testimony or anything, but there are literally probably dozens of times I explained that. But basically, to sum it up, I was at my lowest point. I prayed for the first time in 20 years. And within 10 minutes, not even 10 minutes later, I was walking along the lake shore. A doe comes running out of the woods, bows her head, lets me approach her, start petting her, then comes down and walks alongside of me on the lake shore for over an hour. And literally right beside me almost the whole time. You know, sometimes she would run up ahead or behind, but most of the time directly beside me. And then right before I left, she walked chest deep into the water, and it was a calm day, and the wind began to howl. And since that day, I have not suffered, even though I have pain all the time. And I've been through tragedy after tragedy, deaths, 3 deaths since then in 2 years. My parents my mom is in a nursing home. She was paralyzed from a stroke right before I was saved. That was one of the reasons why I was at my lowest point. I've been through all of it. I have not suffered. I have not had my peace has been unshakable, and everything in my life has been transformed. I was not able to leave my house and go talk to people because I had crippling social anxiety. All of these things completely changed. And it's just my entire life is forfeit. It is God's. I did not want my life. I said, God, if you want it, you can have it. And he took me up on that offer. So my life is his now, for sure. Bill Gorman, mine is an IRS garnishment. Oh, that's a rough one. At Christmas time, too. Oh, I guess that is the end of the year, right? Bill Kopp says, Merry Christmas after giving you a ticket. Tell him to F off. I know, that is, oh man, what a sad life that must be for that cop. Ugh. So I have a few, probably voicemails that will work in court for that. Does it say voicemails? Or is that voicemails? Michelle, I live in Arkansas. Where is it located? I'm not sure because I'm in North Carolina, Michelle, but I really want to find that chapel for sure. I want to find that chapel and I want to go there. It was beautiful. I've only seen it on the internet. City, I actually think P blank is the most. Oh yeah. Lust, we'll say, is the most dangerous addiction. It's free and instantly accessible. Yeah. Okay, not we won't say lust, but online adult content. I think it is too, City. That is absolutely corrupting us. Absolutely corrupting us. And I encourage everyone, every man I meet, especially, because women don't usually get into it as much, but sometimes they do. But just think about how it is affecting all of your relationships. It is corrupting you to the core, and you don't even understand it. Because I didn't think it was a big deal at all. I was like, oh well, it's here. Everybody does it. It's not hurting anybody. I'm having my alone time. It just, oh man, I I'll have to do more videos about that for sure because I want to really dig deep into how much that corrupts us without us even knowing it. Bill, don't run from the Arkansas State Police. Oh yeah, all down in the south, just above the Gulf there. I think that whole area is bad for cops being really corrupt. I've heard. Fo wrong AF. What was I wrong about, Fo? Lila, I would love for you and everyone who's listening to your channel, who's different denominations, to look into the history of the Catholic religion, and you will find out that is the true church. I understand. Yeah, as I said, I understand why Catholics they believe that is the truth, and I believe that it got too corrupt. I do. And I know it went through all kinds of reformations. I understand that. But I don't think that the churches are as important as a lot of people do. Now, the symbology and the tradition and everything and praying to the Virgin Mary and praying to the saints and everything. I get it. Like a lot of other Christians don't like that, but I understand why Catholics do it because all the saints and everyone who is born again really is in the body of Christ. So you can, what do they call it? What I keep thinking interstitial. Basically, you're praying to the whatever saint for them to put a good word into Jesus. But why don't you just pray to Jesus? Is what I never understood. Prophet, time to truck. Enjoy the enlightenment of ideas. Hey, it was great. Thank you for stopping by, Prophet. Yeah, I'm getting off of here too, everybody. I'm going to read up a couple more. I have such profound thoughts. It's difficult to type it. Hey, I'm gonna get it soon. I'm gonna get it set up to where I can have people on, Prophet. So we can definitely, hopefully, talk in person very soon. And if you want, reach out, leave a comment on one of my other channels, one other videos. Any one of them is fine. And I'll send you my email if you can't find it on the main page. But some people say it's not on there anymore. And I'll send you my email, and we'll talk in person if you want, or not in person, on the phone or something. Lila, regardless of what the Pope or priests say, that doesn't God's teaching. It doesn't affect my faith because I'm in the right church and I do what God says, not what man says. I respect all of the priests. Okay. Yeah, I mean, if you're just saying it right there, it doesn't matter about the Pope. It doesn't matter about the priests. It doesn't. We are following Jesus Christ. That is it. And I understand it is the earliest organized church, but it isn't the earliest church. The earliest church were them meeting in houses, meeting in any place they could meet because they were on the run. They were fearing for their life. And they had, I think, really, the explanation of the earliest churches was set up more like something like, I don't know. I want to say like the Presbyterian church or something, but like sort of like the elders and the there's all kinds of there's all kinds of interpretations, and I don't think that is as important. I really don't, as just follow Christ's teachings. And if the Catholic Church is where Christ and the Holy Spirit is guiding you, then absolutely go to the Catholic Church. There is nothing wrong with that. The people that tell you that's not Christianity or whatever, I understand. Don't listen to them. I don't listen to people who get on and rail about, I must do this, I must do that, or I'm not really a Christian. It doesn't affect me one way or another what man thinks. Just like you said, I don't follow man, I follow God. I enjoy the live talk. I enjoy hearing from all of you, City of the Bay. Thank you for stopping by and the Wrench of Powers. I appreciate it. Lila, thanks for stopping by. Prophet, be cool. Okay. I would love to talk to you, brother. Jesus never told me I wanted war. I want to spread love and hope for everybody. I don't think forcing a religion on someone is okay. God asked Abraham and tested him. Humans do not have a right to try. Humans do not have a right to try. Not sure what you're talking about with some of those things, but I'm not sure what Jesus never told me I wanted war. I'm trying to. I'm sorry, brother. I know it's late, so I'm trying to figure some of this out, and I know it's hard to type everything out like that. Hopefully, I'm going to get, like I said, I'm going to get it set up to where I can add guests on, and obviously, I know a lot of you, so I would invite you on for sure. Maybe do a panel thing or just whoever's coming in. But I've got to be careful about that because there's always trolls on here trying to get me in trouble. And YouTube doesn't like it. In person is possible in my line of work. I live in SC, not far. Oh, really? That's great. Yeah, if you're ever coming through the Raleigh area, let me know, Prophet. Like I said, the best way just to reach out, and I'll get the line of communication going through email and then phone. I'll send my phone number through email. And act like a god. Okay. No, humans do not have a right to try and act like God. Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. Generator doesn't like starting at 15 degrees. Yeah, nothing like starting at 15 degrees, man. I tell you what, my body feels every bit. It's not even. It's only 32 degrees here in NC tonight, and man, that cold front coming through is just tearing me up. Me and my old dogs, my old mutt dogs. I got an old hound and an old lab mix, and they are aching tonight, man. We are all just groaning, and I'm glad I could get on here and talk to you guys for at least a little while and forget about my pain for a bit. Fo, thanks for listening to me and my crazy. Hey, I love him, Fo. Thank you for coming on here, brother. You're welcome anytime. I'd like to talk to you in person too. I know what forest to go to if I get a ticket. I do believe in a God and in Jesus. I agree with my interpretation of his teachings of good. That's great, brother. You follow Christ, and obviously you're going to everyone's going to follow their own path of spirituality. But yeah, there are certain things as a Christian, I try to guide people to, but people, if they want to take their own path, that is their decision. I just try to help people understand the love of Christ. And it sounds like you're already kind of looking into that, and you already have looked into it. So good for you, brother. Oscar, hey, brother. Hey, I'm about to get off of here, but hello. Thank you for stopping by anyway. Lila, well, it was nice chatting with you, but I got to go to bed. It's late, and get up early tomorrow. God bless. I got to get up early too. I didn't even think about that. I got to get up and go to my daughter's school tomorrow, so I better get off of here too. I thank you all for stopping by. Lila, love to have more discussion on it for sure. I love you all so much. God bless you.